What happens when a poor boy with nothing but broken dreams meets a girl who isn't even human? This isn't just a story about friendship. It's about destiny, sacrifice, and a secret that could change everything. Ali was no hero. He had no wealth, no special talent, only a heart that refused to stop believing. Every day, he struggled through the dusty streets of a forgotten neighborhood, working odd jobs just to keep his mother alive. His biggest dream? To give her a safe home, where rain wouldn't drip from the ceiling and cold winds wouldn't freeze them at night. But fate had something extraordinary planned. One evening, as he walked home, Ali noticed a strange glow at the end of the alley. At first, he thought it was an electric spark, but what he found there was far more mysterious. Ali's world was small, just narrow streets, broken walls, and the endless weight of poverty. His mother stitched clothes in a tiny corner shop, the sound of her needle fighting against silence. Ali, on the other hand, was always chasing odd jobs. Some days he carried tea trays through crowded stalls. Other days he fixed rusted bicycles, earning just enough to buy bread for the night. Yet, even in that hardship, his eyes carried dreams. Dreams too heavy for his empty pockets. The biggest of them all, to build a home for his mother. A real home, where she could sleep without fearing that the roof might collapse when it rained, where winters came with warmth instead of shivering under a single thin blanket. But every time Ali touched his pocket, he found nothing but dust and a few coins that could barely last a day. And still, he smiled, because deep down, he carried something money could never buy: hope. Ali believed that no struggle was forever. He just didn't know that destiny was already watching him, preparing to test him in ways he could never imagine. It was just another evening. Ali was heading home, the streets already sinking into shadows, when something unusual caught his eye: a soft glow at the corner of the alley. At first, he thought maybe an old electric pole was sparking. But as he stepped closer, the glow didn't fade. It grew stronger. And then he saw her. A girl, dressed in pure white, sitting quietly on the cold ground. Her eyes deep, blue, and filled with a sadness Ali couldn't understand, looked nothing like the faces he knew from his neighborhood. Ali froze for a moment. Who could she be? No one dressed like that here. No one carried that kind of presence. Gathering his courage, he whispered, "Are you all right? Do you need help?" The girl lifted her head, and in that instant, Ali saw something strange. Her gaze wasn't ordinary. It was almost as if light itself was alive inside her eyes. Her voice was soft, but haunting. "No one here knows me. I'm lost. From my own world." Ali's heart skipped. Her own world? What does that even mean? But instead of questions, he did something simple. He removed the shawl his mother had given him and placed it gently over her shoulders. "The nights get cold here. Take this." For the first time, the girl smiled faintly. "What's your name?" she asked. "Ali," he replied. "And yours?" After a pause, she said, "Noor." Ali couldn't explain it, but something about her felt different. The kind of different that could change a life forever. That night, as he sat at dinner, his mother noticed the quiet smile on his face. "Son," she asked, "did something unusual happen today?" Ali only said, "I helped a stranger. Maybe Allah wanted me to cross that alley for a reason." And that was the first night. Ali wondered, can a single moment really change destiny? The next morning, Ali found himself walking through the same alley. Part of him didn't know why, maybe curiosity, maybe concern. But deep inside, he hoped to see her again. And there she was. Noor, sitting in the same place, but this time, there was something different in her eyes, not just sadness, but a spark of hope. "You came again?" she asked softly. Ali smiled. "Yes, I thought you might still need help." For a moment, Noor looked away, as if fighting with words she wasn't sure she should speak. Then finally, she whispered, "You should know the truth. I don't belong to this world." Ali frowned. "What do you mean?" Her voice trembled, yet it carried a strange strength. "I am not human, Ali. I am a jinn. I was lost from my world, and now, I cannot return." Ali stepped back, startled. A jinn? Every story he had ever heard painted them as dangerous, terrifying beings. But when he looked at Noor's face, her innocence, her sorrow, he felt no fear. Only compassion. He thought for a moment, then said, "Even if you are a jinn, you're still alone. And whether someone is human or not, everyone needs help sometimes." Noor stared at him, stunned. No one had ever spoken to her like that before. In that instant, something changed between them. A bond began to form, fragile, but powerful. From that day forward, Noor became a part of Ali's life. She helped. One evening, as the stars scattered across the sky, Noor finally spoke of the secret she had been carrying. Her voice was calm, but her words felt heavy, as if each one was weighed down by memories she could never forget. "Ali," she said quietly, "there's something you should know. I wasn't just lost. I was cast out." Ali turned to her, confused. "Cast out? Why?" Her blue eyes glimmered with pain. "Because I broke the law of my world. I did something unforgivable, something no jinn is ever allowed to do." Ali leaned closer, his heart racing. "What did you do?" Noor's lips curved into the faintest smile, though her eyes held tears. "I helped a child, a little human girl who was lost and afraid. I saved her, but in my world, kindness to humans is forbidden. For that, they punished me. They took away my place, my strength, my home." Ali felt his chest tighten. "You were punished? For kindness?" She nodded slowly. "That is the way of my world. To them, helping humans is weakness. To me, it was the only choice my heart allowed." Ali sat in silence, stunned. He had always believed that kindness was sacred, the highest form of strength. And here was Noor banished for the very thing that made her pure. But Noor only sighed and looked at the sky. "Now I understand something. True humanity doesn't lie in power or in rules. It lies here, in your world, in people like you and your mother, who give without expecting anything in return." Her words struck Ali deeply. For the first time, he began to see that maybe destiny had brought Noor into his life for a reason, not just for her, but for him as well. Yet neither of them knew that their greatest test was still waiting. Days passed quietly, until the sky itself turned against them. Dark clouds gathered, heavy and merciless, and soon, the rains came pouring down. The river that ran near their neighborhood began to swell, its waters rising higher and faster than anyone had ever seen. By nightfall, panic spread through the streets. Families rushed to save what little they had. Mothers clutched their children. Fathers shouted for everyone to flee. The river had broken its banks. Houses were drowning, one after another. Inside their small home, Ali's mother cried out, "Son, the water is coming. Our house will be swallowed too." Ali's heart pounded. He had nothing to fight against the flood, no strength, no tools, no chance. And then, Noor stepped forward. Her face was calm, but her voice carried urgency. "Ali," she whispered, "I can stop this, but I cannot awaken my power alone. I need your help, and for that, you must sacrifice the thing dearest to you." Ali froze. The dearest thing? What did he even have? His life was nothing but scraps and survival. His mother, his honesty, his small fragile dreams, that was all. But looking at the fear in his mother's eyes, the chaos outside, and the helpless cries of neighbors, his choice was clear. "If my sacrifice can save everyone," Ali said firmly, "then I'm ready." Noor's eyes filled with something unexplainable, gratitude, sorrow, and awe all at once. She reached out, holding his hands tightly. In that moment, the air itself began to shift. The winds roared like thunder, the raging waters slowed, and with a force unseen, the flood began to retreat. Within minutes, the streets were dry again, as though the disaster had never come. The people of the neighborhood looked around in disbelief. Their homes were safe, their families untouched. No one could explain it. They called it a miracle. But Ali knew. He glanced at Noor, who now stood pale and trembling, her strength drained. And in her teary eyes, he saw the truth. His sacrifice had given her power, but this was only the beginning of a greater test. That night, Ali learned something he would never forget. True power doesn't lie in wealth, or strength, or miracles. It lies in the heart willing to give. even when it has nothing. The night after the flood, silence hung heavy in the air. The neighborhood slept peacefully, unaware of the miracle that had saved them. But inside Ali's small home, the atmosphere was different, thick with a truth that Noor could no longer hide. Sitting by the dim lantern light, Noor finally spoke. Her voice was soft, yet every word struck like a bell in Ali's heart. Ali, what happened yesterday was only a glimpse of my power. But you should know the full truth. A jinn cannot regain true strength until a human sacrifices their dearest dream for the happiness of someone else. Ali's breath caught. The dearest dream? He thought of the one hope he had carried since childhood, the dream of building his mother a real home. A place where she could live with dignity, without fear of rain dripping through the roof or the cold biting her bones. His chest tightened. That dream was everything. It was the reason he worked, the reason he endured, the reason he kept moving forward. And now, he was being asked to give it up. Noor looked at him with eyes full of sorrow. Ali, the night sky was clear, yet Ali felt a storm inside his chest. Noor stood before him, stronger than ever, her presence glowing with a light that no shadow could touch. But her expression was heavy, as if the truth she carried was harder than any punishment she had ever endured. Ali, she whispered, there's one last thing you must do. Ali's heart sank. What is it? Her eyes softened, shimmering with tears. I can return to my world now, but only if you release me. Only if you break the bond of friendship we share. The words hit Ali like a blade. Release her? After everything they had faced together, the laughter under the stars, the quiet talks, the sacrifices he was now being asked to let her go. Noor stepped closer. True friendship isn't about holding on, it's about setting someone free when it's time. And Ali, the time has come. For a moment, silence swallowed everything. Ali's chest burned, his throat tightened. He wanted to protest, to beg her to stay. But then, he remembered the lessons Noor had etched into his heart. Kindness, sacrifice, humanity. He drew a deep breath, forcing a fragile smile. If your happiness lies in going back, then I won't stand in your way. Noor, I set you free. Tears welled in Noor's eyes as she touched his hands one last time. Ali, you've given more than anyone I've ever known. And before I leave, I want to give you something in return. She closed her eyes, whispering words that shimmered like starlight. Suddenly, Ali's old broken house began to glow. The cracks vanished, the roof mended, the walls transformed into something bright and new. A home worthy of his mother's dreams. Ali stared in shock, unable to believe what he was seeing. Noor smiled through her tears. When a person gives without expecting anything in return, they receive blessings beyond imagination. And then, in a burst of radiant light, Noor disappeared, her presence fading into the night sky, leaving only silence and a memory that would never die. Ali stood there, his heart heavy but full. For the first time, he understood that true love, true friendship, wasn't about possession, it was about sacrifice. Noor was gone. But she had left behind something far greater than magic. She had left him a purpose. Years passed, but Ali never forgot that night, the night Noor vanished into the stars. Her absence was painful, but her lessons lived on in his every breath, his every step. Ali worked tirelessly, fueled not by greed, but by the values Noor had etched into his soul: kindness, sacrifice, and compassion. He built a life not just for himself and his mother, but for others too. He opened his doors to the poor, shared food with the hungry, and offered shelter to those with none. Soon, people in the village began whispering his name, not as the boy who was once poor, but as the man whose heart was richer than gold. Children would gather around him, eager to hear the story of the mysterious friend he once had. Ali never spoke of Noor as a jinn. Instead, he told them she was a friend who had taught him that real magic lies not in power, but in kindness. One evening, as Ali stood outside his home, watching the sky glow with stars, he smiled. Somewhere, he believed, Noor was watching too. And if she could see him now, she would know that her sacrifice had not been in vain. Ali's life became a living proof of a simple truth. when you choose love over selfishness, when you give instead of take, destiny itself bends in your favor. And though the world forgot the name of Noor the Jinn, her light lived on in Ali's deeds, in the people he touched, and in every heart that still believes that true friendship never dies.